Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the man himself. Joining us now in studio is Perot family friend and former CBS 11 News anchor Jody. Dean, thanks for taking some time to come in and chat with us. Jody, I understand your stepdad was his helicopter pilot, right?
He was, and I didn't know that until I found my birth family. And I actually knew Ross Perot before I found my birth family,
right.
So it's a small, very small world.
Talk to us a little bit about that relationship you had with the family. What was that like?
Spectacular. He was a charming, gracious, very direct, very humble man. He was loath to talk about himself. He preferred to talk about the accomplishments and works of others. He would not talk about all the good that he did. Most of his philanthropy was conditional. He said, I will help you, but don't tell anyone. And I tried many times to get him to talk about all the good that he did. In fact, one time when I was working here, I was doing a package on the 60th anniversary of D-Day. And I was on the phone with a museum in Missouri, a random phone call. And a story about Ross Perot showed up on our TV station, and I asked the gentleman on the other end to pause for a second, and then I explained why, and he said, well, he bought our flagpole. And I thought, what? And their flagpole had been destroyed at the museum, and what a random, out-of-the-blue thing. What are the odds that I'd talk to someone who'd actually been helped by the man I just saw on television? But the truth is, the odds were great, because he helped so many people. I never called him with a veteran story that he didn't reach out and do something meaningful to improve that individual's life.
And there are so many stories like that, Jody. You start to talk to people, especially now, who are mourning his passing, and you hear story after story just like that. He did all kinds of donations, all kinds of things that he gave as a philanthropist, and a lot of stuff he didn't even want to attach his name to.
Ever.
One of the things, though, that his name was attached to, for a while at least, was pop culture, the SNL skits with Dana Carvey and all of that. What do you recall about, sort of the fun they had with that?
Well, he liked it. He laughed at it. It took him a while, I think, to get onto the joke, but I did a parody when I was working for the radio station previous to CBS 11, KVIL, and it was called 60 Seconds with Ross Perot. And it was just it was a small skit, but he liked it. He thought it was funny, and eventually I wound up writing one of the songs they used in his first presidential campaign to the tune of a Paul Simon song. So he was game, and he didn't mind it. He had more important fish to fry.
Clearly, I was over at the museum earlier today, and people obviously talking about how much they're going to miss him. What do you think his legacy is now, and what do you think this community has lost in his passing, Jody?
Ross Perot Sr. didn't have a legacy, doesn't have a legacy. His life is a call to action. It's a call to duty. Everyone you talk to who knew him will tell you about how he would look you directly in the eye. He engaged you. He didn't just look at you, he read you. He measured you. And there was such integrity, such honesty, sometimes very blunt honesty. But he was a man of character, a man of wit, a man of honesty, and he expected it from others. He, as I said, he looked you in the eye, and he expected that in return.
Yeah. What do you think you personally will miss most about him?
That high-pitched laugh. I said earlier that it was like finding out this morning that a smaller version of John Wayne had passed away, because for those of us who grew up and watched him all our lives, he was not just an icon, he was a North Star in the sky, and we reckoned by that. And Ross Perot's life was one you could measure yours by, and it was one you could aspire to. And that is a precious, precious commodity, and I think that's one that we all should value.
Someone told me earlier today he had a larger-than-life reputation, and that reputation was earned, every bit of it.
I think Dana Carvey said he was a hand grenade with a haircut. But he was a kind man, and a friend of mine I was talking to this morning said he actually called Ross Perot at home one day and reached Ross's wife, Mr. Perot's wife, Margot, and Mr. Perot was on his way out the door, and in the background you could hear her say to him, "Don't forget to take your sack lunch." And this is a man who at one time was worth about $6 billion, and he was happy to tell you that the reason he had that much money is because he took a sack lunch to work. That was the man I knew.
Wise words. All right, Jody, thank you so much for joining us here in studio and for sharing so many of these anecdotes with us.
Good to see you.
We appreciate it. Gilma?
Thank you, Ken. And our coverage of the life and legacy of Ross Perot continues on air and online at cbsdfw.com.